So, all that build up, and 30 minutes of opening presents with the kids, and boom, done. It's crazy. Time just flies, especially when you have kids, man. Holidays are so much more fun. So as you noticed, titled this evening's show. So I've been dropping the Gunfather series, on Hiram Maxim, Hiram Maxim's son, and also Hiram Maxim's brother, who invented the smokeless black powder for cartridges. So all three of them played a huge role in firearms, although they don't really get mentioned as much or as much credit as they deserve to have. It's some of those things, I guess, though, people wouldn't really stop to look and think. A lot of the stuff these guys invented or whatnot, it's not like, for instance, Sam Colt. Everybody sees the Peacekeeper Army single action pistols, excuse me. Colt, something innovative that Colt made, or Colt Python, Colt Cobra, Colt Anaconda, all their revolvers, all that stuff. Sam Colt, right? Everybody knows who that is. Browning, everybody knows who that is. Can at least probably name you a bunch of the patents or designs he came up with in out of like the 90s he came up with. But for instance, so dark inventions though, with Hiram Maxim Sr., he invented this device called the pipe of peace. Now, the reason why he invented this thing, it looks like a meth pipe or crack pipe, and we'll get to that one shortly here. Kind of all fits into character on this. He had severe bronchitis, asthma, just respiratory issues his entire life. So him being an inventor, he's trying to find something to fix that. A lot of it probably had to do with getting this illness because he started working in factories since he was like 10 years old. But, and back then in the 1800s, there was no regulations, chemicals, dust, paid wages that were fair, how many hours a day you were allowed to work, things like that. None of that was around back then, so poor working conditions. As most people know, mentholatum, whatever you would like to call it, the vapors, the fumes that come off of that plant are soothing to people, especially with respiratory and everything like that. And so he invents this pipe, the pipe of peace, blown glass, little topper on the top cork thing so you can put your mentholatum oil in it or whatever. It's got the little cork on the end where the mouthpiece is. Take that off, roast it, and huff the vapors in, right? Well, great idea. He made a lot of money off of this patent. But then you look at the design, and anybody that knows anything so much as like maybe paid attention in school or whatever when they're talking about don't do drugs and this and paraphernalia. Well, that look what that pipe ended up being used for more than mentholatum for breathing. Crackheads, meth heads, all of that stuff. And it's just odd because like back then in the 1870s, this dude, he's inventing this for the better, for the good. People breathe better and whatnot. Hey, Antonino, thanks for dropping in, man. Just talking about how Hiram Maxim Sr. invented the pipe of peace, which is what that glass crack pipe, meth pipe, whatever it is for my thumbnail. And, he got a patent, made a lot of money off of it. A lot of people gave him a lot of crap, in the inventors community in the 1800s for it. He got pissed off, told all of them he could build a machine, a killing machine if he wanted to. He's trying to, basically get back at him, whatever. But this device, it worked for people. It helped them. Mentholatum, holistic health, good stuff. Later on, though, crackheads and meth heads would be using the same piece of pipe, as it's called, to ingest their drugs or whatever. I just thought that was kind of funny and odd. It's one of those weird one-off type things that just happen in history regardless and backfires. I don't know. Some of the strange inventions to think about. You look at, dynamite, you look at so many of these other types of things that ended up being used for completely opposite of their intended purpose. It's always kind of interesting. With firearm manufacturers, it seems like a good majority of them that I've done my reading up on or research for the Gunfather stuff or whatever, the majority of them have all had some sort of innovation stage in their life before turning to firearms. There's a few exceptions, but as far as that goes, I mean, like you guys have heard me talk about dark firearm history. For instance, you've got what's his name? Not Smith. Weston, inventing this explosive grenade harpoon for whalers. Or, Sam Colt, like I said, dark history here. Sam Colt selling guns to Confederates. I mean, it's interesting. There's always the dark side to it that gets overlooked. With the German firearm manufacturers, as I've stated prior, a lot of them were involved in the Third Reich, either Nazis or SS, but according to them, they were forced into doing so, and they were only the financiers. They weren't the actual scumbags holding it off. I mean, they still did slave labor though over in the HK factory. I mean, it's using slave labor from the concentration camps, them and Walter both. But there's always the failed inventions, things like that. Except they weren't really failures. They just never get known for them. For instance, another thing, Hiram Maxim, he invented the first curling iron for women. He invented coffee substitutions. He invented all of the original guns that gunners would have on their airplanes back in the early 1900s when aviation was starting out and they're trying to start to use it more so as a weapon. He came up with that. Came up with some sort of torpedo patent, which I haven't pulled all the info on that. That's going to be in a later video. But, just really interesting stuff. And here's the thing, I had no clue who he was. I didn't even know suppressors were made by his son, Hiram Maxim Jr. So it's kind of nuts. There's these guys that play this huge role in firearms, in the firearm industry, but, we don't hear about them as much. And like the type of stuff they're inventing or whatnot is licensed out or eventually becomes some sort of product all the other firearm manufacturers and accessory guys and all that stuff, start to make their firearms compatible with. I mean, like the suppressors, who wouldn't want a suppressor for starters? I think they're badass. A. B, muffle the sound, no recoil. I mean, all the benefits of it. Now, would I have ever known who the hell Hiram Maxim was? No, not a chance, man. I'll be flat out honest with you on that one. It's interesting though, because like Maxim's, he was also one of the first few people. He lit up the one of the buildings in New York with electricity back in the early 1800s. I mean, he's got so much credit, and I thought Thomas Edison or like Nikola Tesla or whatever, they were the dudes fucking around with light bulbs and electricity back then. But it turns out it's this dude. And then what's even more strange is he's American born. Comes up with all these great machine guns, the Maxim machine gun, that big old belt fed, which is badass. But for some reason, when I think of machine guns like that during that time, I always tend to point more towards Browning's machine gun that came out. Maxim's is kind of forgotten. However, if you go across the pond, which is what he did, over to England, and he actually started arming them with these types of things and getting military contracts and whatnot. He was actually knighted. And, he passed away in about 1916. So, he didn't really hit the Great War or World War II or anything along that line, but the British used his products for quite some time. Issued for, oh boy, what was it? Sorry, I don't know the British military groups back then or what it would be called, but for their military, they were using them. And he ended up dying over there eventually. His son took over his company in the United States, and production began there. But I don't know, it's just interesting content, interesting stuff to look up and read about. One of the crazy things about the Gunfather series, though, is trying to find credible information about some of these guys on Wikipedia. Is going to be people adding their opinions and there's a lot of things that need to be fact checked and whatnot. But finding like legit, studies or, history papers and things like that from universities published or whatever, it's difficult to find any of that. And so when all there is like Wikipedia and maybe one or two other things you can find on the internet, It's like, damn, man, Wikipedia is the only one that has any stuff on it about this dude, and there's no credible sources. And then you look at the Wikipedia one, you look at their references and where they got the material for that and everything along that line as far as credit goes, and there's nothing at the bottom to check, so you can't really go fact check that stuff. So it's like, do I risk going out and saying the wrong shit, or do I continue to keep digging and hoping I'll find something? You know, that's why SIG, for instance, like with SIG, I've got so much content on SIG, Gunfather, I've got content on you know, a couple of the firearms and stuff like that, but there's a lot of information out there that's not credible. And I mean, it's hard because these guys, a lot of them, these firms, companies, manufacturers, machinists, whatever, a lot of them started in the 1800s, and back then, you know, records and stuff like that gets lost over time or forgotten. A lot of these guys, you know, we see their patents and things along that line over the years that they came up with. But, you know, as far as like history, word of mouth, things like that, you know, it passes on a little bit to an extent, but then what point does it get to where it's complete bullshit? Because we all know people love to tell the legend more than they like to tell the story. You know, and that's kind of another topic, because earlier today, one of the content creators channels I have supported or viewed quite a bit over the last couple of years, there was a guy who was on and totally telling the legend of things, and it gets to the point where it's funny in the beginning, but then it just continues to change and get inconsistent and stuff like that. You know, this dude on my this other content creator show, it's just like, I don't know, telling the legend and then changing it multiple times over and over and just having to bite your tongue blows my mind. But I don't know, I think it's attention-seeking behavior. I think a lot of people want to project, or, you know, on the internet, a lot of people can be whatever they want. I always joke around, you know, I don't identify as a male. I identify as a 40-year-old single mother. That's my new, that's what I want to be identified as going forward. Nobody's respected my wishes on that, man. I mean, that's just discrimination against a woman, single mother like myself, to not be identified as one. But, you know, it's just shit like that. I don't know, I like breaking people's balls too, but it gets old after a while. But hey, is what it is, right? People are people. We're gonna always embellish, always tell the legend. But I suppose, because like with this person, I saw the actual thing take place that they're talking about. You know, I've interacted with this person before. It was actually pretty damn funny. I know, right, Antonino? I even got Mother's Day gifts, you know, from my daughter and stuff like that. That's the best part on Mother's Day, because, you know, single dad raising his kid. I got Mother's Day and Father's Day, man. I scored another holiday. So totally worth it. But yeah, you know, it's rough for us single moms out there. I mean, I don't know. It's bizarre, but it is what it is. You know, there's another thing. So a lot of stuff that I hear, I don't know, you can call it woke or whatever the fuck you want to call it, weird stuff that people do and say nowadays. Pansexual. You look up the definition of it, and by all means, the definition is, let's see here. I laughed my ass off about this because I don't even understand who comes up with this. Let's see here. Pansexuality is sexual, romantic, or emotional attraction towards people of all genders, or regardless of their sex or gender identity. Isn't that bisexual? I get. See, Antonino, that would make more sense. You know, a thing for Peter Pan? Are you like some sort of pervert? Because only perverts like Peter Pan, if you ask me. You know, I mean, at least how they portray him. But like, and plus, you know, Michael Jackson named his ranch Never Neverland, so you know, it's got to be some weird shit. But like, if you're attracted to both, then that's bi. I mean, we've had that saying for ages. I mean, Pan. How do you know? What does Pan have to do with anything? But you know, it's just shit like that nowadays. I point out, you know, or it's like how I was on my rant yesterday about military commercials, them dumbing them all down and making everybody look like a bunch of woke pussies. When in actuality, man, you want some badass, tough, you know, Army Ranger guys do it, or whatever the case is with the Navy. You've got the guys doing the Navy SEAL stuff, shooting pirates. I don't know, having Godsmack for your music, or Marines fighting a dragon monster thingy with a sword. New labels. Yeah, Antonino, but you know, that's the sad part. People want these new labels, and they're being so deceptive, and the main person they're being deceptive to is themselves. I mean, you know, it's just, I don't know if it's like a fad for now or something along that line, but you know, I just think it's odd. I just think it's really weird that they don't want to be themselves. I mean, it's just, you know, look at it this way. I'm being myself. I'm not young, not like I was in my 20s. You know, I can't do that type of shit anymore. Family dude. I flat out tell people straight up, you know, I'm not gonna go to the streets with somebody over a YouTube argument. Yeah, the internet probably plays a huge role in that, Antonino. Totally does, dude. It's really screwed up people's socializing skills, I think, in this society nowadays. And I mean, a prime example of some weird stuff about it. My kids, okay, rather than watch like a full episode of SpongeBob, they'll go on YouTube, they'll watch some clips that somebody made, but there's like no real context to the joke. And I'm just like, why don't you guys put on real SpongeBob or something, watch a real episode? You know, and then like, for instance, over the summer, my stepsons, I was taking them fishing and stuff like that. Neither of them had ever fished before. And, you know, my oldest, he's like, oh, you know, I know how to fish. I did it on my computer or whatever. And I'm like, that's not fishing, dude. That's a video game. It's not fishing at all. You know, and it's just like, are they starting to think that these things that are simulated and, you know, non-tangible over the internet actually hold a lot of value when it comes to real life experience? I mean, it's like shooting. Somebody's tried to tell me that Call of Duty makes you shoot better. No, video games don't make you shoot better. Video games don't do anything for your brain but rot it. It's shooting. The only way you're gonna ever get better at shooting is train, and that is you go out and shoot, man. I mean, it's just nuts. And you know, I was such an outdoor kid. Now I live in a colder area now than I used to, but still, I mean, it's just like I couldn't stand being in the house as a kid, man. I always wanted to be out doing shit, getting in trouble, or lighting bottle rockets, or who knows what. I mean, I still do all that anyways. I still light fireworks off whenever, but you know, it's just like, just strange. It's I don't know. And you know, I know there's a lot of people that do things for clicks on social medias and stuff like that, but some of the things you see, these people complaining about guns, and then they're like getting called out. They're like, fine, I'll go try a gun out and blah, 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 and just to see how it is. And a lot of these people end up thinking, you know what, it's actually pretty fun to shoot a gun at some targets. I mean, that's how you train. But, you know, a lot of people, it changes their mind about it because they're scared of it. And I know a lot of people like to say, oh, well, you only carry guns because you're scared of people. No, I carry guns because I can, man. It's Constitution. You know, I'm old. I got wife and kids, man. I'm too old to be going out and fist fighting with people, and if somebody's going to try to get the drop on me and rob me, not like that would happen here in my hometown, not in South Dakota, man. But I mean, what are they going to do? Like hide at the corner of the cornfield and then like when I drive up to the mailbox or something, jump out and try to carjack me. I mean, they're not going anywhere for about 60 miles before they hit population somewhere. So, I mean, it's just funny to me, but I don't know. It's just the whole mentality, yeah, just on and off, man. But self-defense, protect my home, protect my kids. I like to hunt. I like to go shoot clay pigeons. I like to have a hobby. Um, but no, as far as being scared goes, no, it's called preparation. I mean, and that's always going to be the argument I give. And people can try to debate me all they want, and I always tell people, I don't get on panels and debate with a lot of people when it comes to religion, politics, or well, that's about it, because some people never accomplish anything. It's just a constant fight and battle back at each other, and one person feels their opinion is the only valid opinion and the other one's is, and stuff like that, whatever. Um, and it gets ridiculous. But one of the best prime examples is, I'm not the biggest religious person. I've told this guy, I was like, hey, look, you know what? If you can show me like 100% proof about Noah's Ark, or I don't know, something like that, I'll definitely change my mind. And, I have no problem doing that. I was like, but here's my question to you. If I were to show you 100% dead on information or evidence that it didn't exist or happen, what would you do? Would that be possible to change your mind over? Or would you continue, oh no, I wouldn't change my mind still. I'm not going to abandon my religion. But I'm like, but what if, whatever I'm showing you is the truth and facts though? I'm not trying to say they're wrong right now. I'm just trying to make a point across to a lot of people. Love going to the range. Call it my therapy session. You guys at work know what I mean. I say I have a therapy session. Yeah, no, man, the range, I mean, Antonino, that's like one of the best methods for it, man. I tell my wife that all the time. Like, you're so focused and zoned in on what you're doing when you're shooting, man. It's kind of a nice relief just to take your mind off everything else when you're stressed as hell. I love shooting, man. And so many people think, oh yeah, when you're stressed, just go shoot afterwards because, take out that anger and aggression. Yeah, I suppose, take it out, but train, feel better afterwards. And that's the way to do it, man. I mean, it's just clear your head. I don't even think about people at work or any of the bullshit. I'm just thinking right down that downrange, hitting the target or whatever I'm shooting at the time. It's it's also like another thing. If you don't like shooting, fishing is a hell of a good one too. I mean, I go fishing every single day in the summertime. I can walk right down to the Missouri River, and it's great. I love doing it. Love taking my kids doing it. I have a lot more fun when they go with. But yeah, no, man, it's Antonino. There's just something about shooting to me, and I just feel totally better afterwards. And like, especially since I quit smoking, about a year ago. I think it's been over a year, about a year and a half. And that's like kind of been my thing. But yeah, I mean, I that's why I recommend people, people that have never shot a firearm. It's like, hey, would you like to at least try it one time? So, you can still hate it afterwards, but just give it a shot, just to see what you think about it when you've actually done it. And a lot of times you'll get some people who, nope, not going to happen. And a lot of times you get some people that go, you know what? I can see how you'd see it. It's fun. It doesn't change my mind, but I can understand why you'd like to go shooting. I mean, so there's some common ground there. But, I mean, my wife, she doesn't go shooting as often. I can get her to go shoot maybe 3 times a year. Major stress relief. Somewhat surprised. Yeah, I mean, and that's just it. And it's like, when you're shooting too, it's not like I don't, like I said, it doesn't feel like I'm aggressive either when I'm shooting for therapeutical reasons. I mean, I'm not being aggressive towards the target, like, die, I effing hate you, blah, blah, whatever. It's just zoned in, man. Just getting way into it. But I think that'll call it for tonight's rant, guys. Thanks so much, Antonino, for dropping in, sir. Always appreciate you supporting my channel. Always appreciate Sunny Money, Jesse Roth, Primo, anybody else I forgot. Thank you to Replay Crews. So you guys take care. Enjoy your Friday.